Hey guys, today we're covering surface area of prisms and cylinders. Okay, excuse me. It gives you this formula right here on this page, but what's on your formula chart that you get to use, it says surface area equals 2 capital B plus LA. Now, sometimes the LA might have PH, and you're like, what do all of these letters represent? Well, remember that the B, the capital B represents the area of the base. That's the base shape. That's the capital B. A lowercase b, a capital B. All right. Now you might be like, what about this LA? We're not going to Los Angeles. No, that is referring to the lateral area. When it's talking about lateral area, that means it's no bases. There are no bases included. Okay, so now we're coming down here to the rest of this part down here. Okay, LA, that's lateral area. I get it. It's no bases. But how do I calculate it? That's by taking P times H. You're like, P, that's perimeter from what I'm understanding. H is height. Well, we're going to come back to the perimeter in just a second. Let's talk about this height, because you're going to have multiple heights in a shape. This height right here is referring to the height of the prism. This is the height of the prism. Now, the P. This P, that's referring to the perimeter of the base. Okay, so we've got several vocabulary words here that you need to pay attention to. All right, we have, the original formula for surface area, which you're going to be using very commonly. You need to make sure that you understand that the lateral area is found by doing the perimeter times the height, and that the P is the perimeter of the base figure. All right, so here we go. Let's work some examples about this, okay? And what this first section is just rectangular prisms, okay? And sometimes it'll have the base shaded, sometimes it will not. On a rectangular prism, it really doesn't matter unless it's a word problem and they're trying to do something specific about something. All right, so here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to label the information on my figure, okay? So according to my diagram here, this number right here is representing my length. The 7 is representing my width. The 9 is representing the height. Now, remember, that is height of the prism. Because we're going to say right now, because length times width is how I find the area of the base. So we're shading this in. This is my base. I hope you can see that. Okay, that is my base shape. Now that I have things labeled, okay, now we can go on. And we're going to start with, we always start with formulas. So I'm going to have SA equals 2B plus the lateral area. Now, You might be saying, why 2b? Well, remember, on a prism, there's two bases. And for us today, for this problem, it is the bottom and the top are the two bases. That's why we have 2b. And then we have the lateral area. So the first step here is I'm going to find the lateral area. No, not lateral, sorry. I'm going to find the base. First step is find the base. Well, my base shape is a rectangle. So that is found by doing length times width. So that's going to be 12 times 7. So therefore, my capital B is equal to 84. That was easy. That part was done. Okay. Next part. Now is where we get a little bit more. We have the lateral area. Remember that the lateral area is found by doing the perimeter times the height. Remember, this is the height of the prism. The P is the perimeter of the base. But what I've got to remember is if it's 12 over here, then that means it's 12 over here. If it's 7 here, then that means it's 7 here. So therefore, to find the perimeter, I'm doing 12 plus 12 plus 7 plus 7 times, what's the height? 9. And now I have to show all of the steps of my work. So I'm going to add these two together, add these two together. So I end up with 24 plus 14 times 9. Add these two together, and we get 38 times 9. I know we get to use a calculator, but the brain can't do all of that at one time. So you have to write down what these things equal. And now I have the total area is, sorry about all the noise here, 342, and we're talking about centimeters squared. Oh, I forgot to add in the directions up here. When we're finding the surface area, you have to find the total and the lateral surface area. So we're going to just write lateral area. So you have to find both. And what's nice is lateral area is found inside of finding total. So you're not doing extra work. It's just there. Okay. So I've got centimeters squared. So this is my lateral area. I just found this answer. Okay, now we're coming back to over here where I've got to find the total surface area. So I've got 2 times 84 plus 342. Notice I am plugging in my information. I'm taking this number and I'm plugging it in here. I'm taking this number and I am plugging it in here. Just plug and chug. You just find each part and then you plug it in and simplify. So now I have the 2 times 84, which gives me 168 plus 342. So my total surface area is going to be 510 centimeters squared. Okay, that's the rectangular prism. Now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the triangular prisms. Okay, remember that the base is not always the bottom. When we're looking at this, there's not really a bottom, but it doesn't matter which side you label as the base. Okay, for our purposes right now, so that you can get the correct lateral area that I have on the answer key, we're going to say this side is the base. That is your base. For number 3, this is your base, because I want you to calculate both lateral and total surface area. Okay, moving right along. Let's talk about the other prisms. Okay, for these, the base will always be shaded. Well, no, it's not always shaded. It's always what names it. The base is always what names it. Okay, so the capital B is always what names the figure. So for instance, this is a triangular prism because the base is a triangle. All right, so it's the same formulas that we have here. You'll notice it's the LA equals HP. Notice the HP plus the 2B. So it's all the same formulas that we're using. We're just going to have a different capital B formula to use. It's going to be based on a triangle, not a rectangle. Okay, so here we go. Let's look at number 6. Okay, first things first, label your dimensions. Well, when I'm looking at this, my base is this triangle right here. Well, for that, I need to know what the base and the height are of the triangle. I'm going to jump ahead. First formula. Surface area equals 2B plus the lateral area. So what's the first thing I need to find? The B. Step 1. Capital B, that's going to be found by 1/2 base times height, because that's the formula for a triangle. So that means I need to label in this figure what the base and the height of the triangle is. All right, remember the base and the height have to make a right angle, which is made right here. So that means this 9 is the base. This 7.8 is the height. This is, both of these are of the triangle. That's the base and the height of the triangle. All right, so now we plug and chug that information to find what B is. What the capital B is, the area of the base. So I'm going to have 1/2 times 9 times 7.8. So that's going to give me 4.5 times 7.8. Which gives me 35.1. So the capital B equals 35.1. Next part. Now we have to find the lateral area. So this is step 2. And the lateral area is the perimeter times the height. Remember, the perimeter is all the way around the figure. So that means I have got to find the distance around the base. Here, here, and here. Well, I know 2 sides. Those 2 are 9s. Well, if this is 9 over here, that means this is going to be 9 right here. So therefore, all the sides of the triangle are 9. So I have 9 plus 9 plus 9 times, what's the height of the prism? Remember, this H represents the height of the prism. Height of prism. So that is this distance between the 2 bases. So this right here is the distance between the 2 bases. So this is the height of the prism. All right. So I multiply that times 17. So that's 3 9s. So that's going to be 27 times 17. So I'm going to get that my lateral area is 459 meters squared. Well, I got one of my 2 answers right there, because remember, I'm supposed to be finding the lateral and the total. Well, now that I have these numbers, I can plug them in. So I'm going to have 2 times the area of the base, which is 35.1, plus the lateral area, which is 459. And now I simplify. So 2 times 35.1, that's going to be 70.2 plus 459. So that gives me a total surface area of 529.2 meters squared. Okay. When we're looking at these other triangular prisms, you want to make sure that you have things labeled correctly. So let's just look at it and label things correctly. Okay, so looking at number 5, this is my base, this is my right angle. So therefore, this is my base shape figure. So this is going to be the base of the triangle. This is going to be the height of the triangle. Now, the height of the prism is the distance between the two bases. So therefore, oh, this number I would go here. So therefore, this is the height of the prism. All right, let's look at another example. Looking at number 8, okay? This is a trapezoidal prism because the base shape is a trapezoid. So here we go. All right, so still the same formula. Surface area equals 2b plus the lateral area. Well, I've got to find what the base shape is. But first, I'm going to go through and label things. Okay. All righty here. This number right here is the height of the trapezoid. So this is the height of the trapezoid. This is B1. This is B2. This is just the different distances of the sides, which we'll need for the perimeter. This number here, this is the height of the prism because it is the distance between the two bases, base shapes of the prism. Okay, now that we labeled everything, now we start to do our calculations. Okay, so for step 1, the capital B is calculated by doing 1/2 H times B1 plus B2. That's our trapezoid formula. If you want to do 0.5 instead of 1/2, it's your choice. I like to do 0.5, but you don't have to do. So this is 0.5 of the height of the trapezoid, not the height of the prism. So we're going to have 12.7 times 10 plus 26. So now I'm going to add this and multiply this. Excuse me. So I'm going to get, so I have 0.5 times 12.7, and that gives me 6.35 times 36. So this gives me that my capital B is 228.6. All right, did my first step. Now we're moving on to step 2, which is the lateral area. And remember, that's capital P times H. So I've got to find the perimeter of the trapezoid. There are 4 sides on the trapezoid. So that means I am going, I didn't show you that, but that's okay. I am going all the way around the trapezoid. Remember that These two tick marks mean they're the same. So therefore, this side right here is 15. So I'm going to have 15 plus 10 plus 15 plus, oh, wait a minute, the 26 down. This is 26 up here because it's the same measure. Plus 26 times, what's the height of the prism? 7. So I'm going to add what I can add together. So I'm going to end up with 25 plus 41 times 7. Yep. Add this together, and we end up with 66 times 7. So therefore, the lateral area is equal to 462 feet squared. Now we need to find the total surface area. So this is where we go back and we're plugging in the information. So I have 2 times 228.6 plus 462. And now we simplify. And we have to do this multiplication first. I have times 2. So this is going to give me 457.2 plus a 462. And that gives me a total surface area of 919.2 feet squared. This is going to be a longer video, guys, because there's so many different shapes. So take a break if you need to and come back to it. All right, we've got 2 more examples. Next one is the cylinder. It's got different looking formulas here, but guys, in all essence, it is the same thing, because when you're looking at this right here, you have 2 bases that are circles, correct? How do you find the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So this right here is representing the 2b. Well, I've got to figure out around the circle, because if I think about it, if I would cut this right here, I took a pair of scissors and I cut right along here, and then I laid it flat. Well, that means it's going to go out and it's going to create a rectangle when it lays flat. Okay. So that means that when it folded back over, it went around the circle. Well, if I'm going around the circle, that means I'm finding the circumference. So therefore, the lateral area, which is this label area, this all right here is the lateral area, or what I call the label. It's a lot of times the label on the soup can, is the circumference times the height, which, hey guys, circumference formula. This was the area formula. So still, it's the 2b plus the lateral area. It's just you have to think about, what do you do for a circle? For a circle, to find the perimeter, it's the same thing as the circumference. All right, so here we go. Let's look at the problem. We have, first things first, label our information. This is the radius. This is the height of the cylinder. Okay, so that's the height of the cylinder, which is this H right here. That represents the height of the cylinder, the H in this formula. Okay, there's not more than one H because there's not a height for a circle. All right, so here we go. We have our formula. Surface area equals 2b plus the lateral area. Let's do our steps. Number one, the capital B is a circle, so that's pi r squared. My radius is 6. Big thing, big thing, big thing. Leave pi in until the end of problem. You do not plug in the 3.14 or anything until the end of the problem. All right, here we go. And again, we're finding total and lateral area. Total and lateral area. All right, which we find in our work. Okay, so we have pi times 6 squared, which that means the capital B is going to be 36 pi. And I'll leave it there. I don't go any further. Here we go. Now we're finding the lateral area, which for us is the circumference times the height, which can also be just 2 pi RH. All right, so here we go. So I've got 2 pi times 6 times 21. Okay, so since it's all multiplication, I'm going to multiply these two together first. So I'm going to have 12 times 21 times pi. And I always write the pi symbol at the end. So now we have 12 times 21, which is 126. No, let's do 12 times 21. Oh, that's a palindrome. It's 252. So we have 252 pi, and that represents the lateral area. Okay, we'll come back later and plug in the 3.14 here. I want to go back and solve now. Okay, so we plug in our information. So we have 2 times 36 pi plus 252 pi. And now we simplify. I multiply these two. And we end up with 72 pi plus 252 pi. Now I add, these are both like terms, so I'm going to add my coefficients. This is like if it said 72x plus 252x. So I add the coefficients, which gives me 324 pi. The reason for this is sometimes it asks you to leave it in terms of pi. So this would be the surface area in terms of pi, and then you would say centimeters squared. For us, we're going to plug in pi as 3.14, like we normally do. Okay, so now I'm going to have 324 times 3.14. We don't round until the end. So it says round to the nearest tenth, and that's at the end. The last thing you do is round. You do not round in the middle. Okay, so we have 324 times 3.14, which gives me 1017.36 centimeters squared. This is the total surface area. Now let's calculate what's the lateral surface area. So that means I'm doing 252 times 3.14. So therefore, my lateral surface area is 791. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't round correctly. It says round to the tenths. That's not supposed to be a 0.36. That's supposed to be 0.4. I didn't follow directions. This is supposed to be 0.4. And then 791.3 centimeters squared. Now, for number 10, the difference with this one is, the 23 represents the diameter. Well, I need the radius according to all of these formulas. So that means I'm going to take this and divide by 2 to get that my radius is going to be 11.5. And then we work it the same way. Okay, let's look at a word problem now. Okay, I know this is a long video. Just bear with it. Okay, you have a rectangular cake. Well, that's nice. Rectangle, that's the easiest one. It's 18 inches long, 12 inches wide, 3 inches tall. Okay, tall, that means that's the height. Okay, if one jar of frosting covers 120 square inches, how many jars are needed to frost the cake? Okay, well, first things first, I got to figure out how much it takes to cover one cake. So I've got to find the surface area. But oh, wait a minute. Do I frosting the bottom of a cake? That should unanimously be no. So therefore, when we're calculating, so the first step here is we've got to figure out the surface area of the cake. Surface area of cake. That's going to be done by, instead of having 2 bases, it only has 1. So this is going to be 1b plus the lateral. Okay. And then step 2 is, once I know how much it takes to cover one cake, I'm going to take that and that surface area, and I'm going to divide by 120 to figure out the number of jars it will take to cover it. Okay. All right, here we go. So let's work. Again, first step, I gotta find the B. It's a rectangular cake, so that's nice. It's not a triangle or a trapezoid. So we've got length times width. So that's going to be 18 times 12. 18 times 12, which gives me 216. And then I've got to find the lateral area. So the lateral area is the perimeter times the height, which is going to be this tall. So that's going to be the 3 inches. So perimeter, that means I'm going to have 18 plus 18 plus 12 plus 12 times 3. 18. This is 36 plus 24 times 3. So that's going to give me 60 times 3. So that means that my lateral area is 180. All right, so now we plug it in and go. So I'm going to have 216 plus, because there's only one, so I don't have to multiply it times 2. So it's 216 plus 180. Equals 396 is the surface area. So that's the step 1, but that's not my answer. I'm not finished. So I have to now do the 396 divided by 120. 396 divided by 120 equals 3.3. But hey, it wants to know how many jars are needed. I can't buy 0.3 of a jar. So we have to have 4 jars, according to this problem. Okay, number 12, I'm just going to help you pull out information. A quarter has a diameter of 24 millimeters and a height of 1.74 millimeters. What is the minimum amount of paper needed to wrap a stack of 40 quarters? Okay, so that shape is going to be a cylinder, but I'm going to have, okay, so I would draw a cylinder, but it's going to be like 40 of these things, and each one is 1.75 high. All I got to do is 1.75 times 40. I'm sorry, I worked this all the way out because we're doing the height of the quarter times 40 equals the amount of paper needed. So that's going to be 70 millimeters. That's actually easier than it. Okay. Stop, pause, take the breaks as you need it. Have a great day.